Welcome back everybody to TME. I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to make my weekly talking video, but I'm going to do it while I'm driving, hands-free of course. I'm not going to be able to look at the camera a lot. I got to keep my eyes on the road, but just lacking the opportunity to stop and make a video. I thought, well, I'll just try to do this while I'm driving. If it doesn't turn out well, then I'll just avoid doing it in the future. But there are some things that I want to talk about, actually. I've got a little bit of an update with my job search. Still nothing definitive yet, but I've got a pretty good lead for the moment, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm so excited that I'm choosing to share it with you now instead of waiting to give you the, just drop the bomb completely in the future about it. So I'm just hoping that I don't jinx myself, but at the same time, just telling myself, if this is something that's meant to be, it will happen. If not, then I'll just go ahead and accept that it's not actually going to happen, and well, I'll go on from that point, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I told you guys and explained that I have a lead on a job that doesn't involve truck driving. It involves the housing industry, in that, if this company that's hiring for this position so chooses to give me a job, it's going to be an extremely big deal, because I won't be truck driving anymore. I'll be doing something completely different. It's a big change. It's a huge change. And well, I know that a lot of people that watch my videos, they might not be too happy about my decision to follow through with something like this, but there are a lot of things that I know you guys already know about me that I'm not going to take the time to address in this video, other than to just tell you guys that it's been a long, process. It's been challenging to stay in this industry under the circumstances that I brought on myself. It has been a challenge. I will say that, after I got this particular job, things calmed down a lot, and I didn't feel like I was fighting so hard to keep my head above the water after I got this job. However, there then comes the discontentment of holding down this job. I think I've said it in the past, and I don't want to sound arrogant when I say this, but I think I'm a little overqualified to have this job. I think that, it's definitely been a blessing working here. And I do feel like if I leave this company, then that's when I'll have an opportunity to talk more about the company specifically and share more about my job with you guys, and say things that I don't feel comfortable talking about right now, as I'm still driving their truck every day. But if the time comes that, I have the leisure or that ability to share more with you about this company, I will. And again, I'll say kind of the same thing I said about my previous truck driving job. It's not all negative. There's actually way more positive things about this company and this job than there is negative. But I'll save that for another video. Right now, I just want to tell you guys that this particular job that I mentioned in my previous video, I did actually get an interview set up, which I did last Wednesday, and it went so well that they actually set up a second interview for me, which I did last Friday. And it was weird. It was Friday the 13th, and I had a job interview. It's like a second degree job interview. But guys, I mean, I feel like I nailed it, you know. It was the best job interview I've ever had in my life. And talking to this company and, you know, breaking down to them my story, how I got into truck driving, why I kind of want to leave truck driving at this point. And it has a lot to do with not just the fact that I am in this situation that I put myself in. It has a lot to do with the economy, and more than anything else, it has to do with my life. Like, I've said it before and I'll repeat it here, that like I don't want to do this for the rest of my life if I don't have to. I've come a long way as a truck driver. You know, a couple of years ago, I was at the point where if I would have just locked down and stayed true and not taken advantage of the blessing of what I had in that moment, and if I wouldn't have screwed it up for myself, then I could have retired in that job. So I thought at the time. And I beat myself up about it a lot. Whenever I did lose that job, I beat myself up. I would say that it was the pinnacle of my career as a truck driver. That, you know, even if I stayed in the industry, I don't know for sure, can't tell you for sure that I'll ever be able to make income like I made at that job and have it so good as a local truck driver working 5 days a week and getting all the perks that that company gave to their drivers. Well, I didn't even realize this until this year when I looked into it, because I actually, you know, I started an extensive job search earlier this year, and I knew that I was probably not going to find anything particularly better than the job I have right now, other than the fact that I might be able to find something that's closer to where I live. If I just live closer to my terminal, then it would drastically improve the significance and value of this particular job that I have right now. If it didn't take so long for me to have to commute back and forth every day, I would take that time that I'm spending in my personal vehicle and I would spend it in this truck, and I would actually drastically increase my income that I make. That's one good thing about this company. I think I kind of shared it with you guys earlier this year, is that when you're local, they pretty much leave it up to you. You can work as little or as much as you want, as long as you're not going over on your clock, and as long as you come to work every day and you're willing to take on the first handful of stuff that they give you. That doesn't always take that long. I mean, some days I come in and they'll give me multiple assignments, multiple loads, but I'll actually get it done in 3 hours. And at that point, it's up to, they'll leave it up to me. If I tell them, no, I want to go home, they're like, okay, go home. If I tell them I want something else, give me some more stuff that didn't take long enough to get done, give me some more work and I'll do it, then they're like, okay, here you go. And that's what I like about this job. They're not like dumping loads on you, things that they know are going to be extremely time consuming and just expecting you to get it done. This company doesn't do that, and I appreciate that a lot. But anyway, going back to the interview thing, I did 2 interviews last week. The second one went even better than the first one. And at first I was like, man, I don't know, because this job, it's like, it is something that it's like an entry-level position, but the company itself is a really reputable company. But you know how some companies get awards, like even truck driving companies, you'll see on their trailers where they win awards for being like the top 10 best companies in America to work for. Well, this company holds titles like that. Okay? So it's not that you need to be like highly educated to get an entry-level position with the company. It's just that you have to have connections to get a job like this, and they do have extremely good benefits and like they have great PTO. They have great holiday. They have like 10 paid holidays per year. On top of that, they have like paid sick time. It's just a really good company to work for. And the people that I talk to, they seem legit. And she even asked me, she was like, are you looking for a sole position that you can just take and stay in for an indefinite amount of time? Like, are you just looking to find a job and just stick with that job and not really grow into anything else? And I was like, absolutely not. I was misinformed, and the job that I told you guys I was going to apply for, turns out there aren't any open positions for that job right now. So after I applied for the job, they sent me an email back saying we don't have any openings for that, but we do have openings for this, and it's not as high up in their structure. It's not as high up as the job that I originally applied for, so it doesn't pay as much. But at the same time, with me having to sacrifice a considerable amount of time that I could spend driving this truck making income, to the fact that I'm having to spend so long in my personal vehicle getting back and forth from work, I will say that the income that I make right now as a truck driver with this particular job, I can match it by taking the job that they offered me. And so after that second interview, she actually asked me, she's like, okay, we want to meet you. Like, we feel like you're a really good fit, but you're still just a candidate. I mean, we've got a lot of people applying for this position. It's a good company to work for, you guys. There's a lot of people out there that want this job, including me. Now, the one good thing that I have going for me is that my brother-in-law of over 12 years is a supervisor over a team of associates that are doing the title of what I originally applied for. And he's worked there for well over a decade now. So they love him. If he recommends anybody for a position, it's obviously going to get his company's attention, So he let me list him as a referral on the application. That's a really good plus for me. I mean, it went really well. But like I said, I did invest a lot of effort and energy into just trying to make sure that I asked the right questions and that I gave the right answers for everything that I'm talking about. So like the interview itself, she asked me a lot of questions, and I made sure to do a lot of research prior to the interview to make sure that I was going to give her all the answers that she was looking for, and I think I nailed it. Another thing that helped me out was the fact that like I told you in my previous video, my wife is a supervisor over a team of CNAs. and she has to hire and fire a lot of people, so she gave me a lot of pointers, which helped me a lot. And it's different, guys. It really is different when you're going from being a truck driver for almost a decade, and then you apply for a job in another industry. You got to be equipped for these kinds of things. So I've got all these different things going for me. Another big thing that I have going for me that I didn't talk a lot about is the fact that I do have previous experience working in a similar position to the one that I'm going to take if they hire me. And so I just feel really good about it. My whole family, they're like ecstatic about it. They're over the truck driving thing too. Like, and I don't want to give anybody the wrong idea or make anybody think that I don't appreciate this industry. I've said it in the past that even though I disagree a lot with the structure of this industry, at the same time I'm like, I respect it a lot and I appreciate it for what it is, and I've never taken it for granted. I've always respected it. Except for my one little mishap that I had, I've always respected this industry, and I respect each soul that's invested into it. And I've even told you guys in a previous video that like the real stuff, the stuff in this industry that actually has substance. I'm not talking about the red tape nonsense. I'm not talking about the things that insurance companies subject truck drivers to. And I'm not talking about the rigid expectations that are unrealistic and the corporate facets of the transportation industry. Like that stuff, I think this industry would thrive even more so without. Guys, I'm gonna cut myself off right there because I kind of trailed off in a direction that I don't think is necessary for this video. My main point here is to emphasize that I understand that maybe some people that have been following me on my channel for a while, you guys all of a sudden hearing that I might just stop doing this, I might stop driving trucks. It kind of came out of left field, but it really didn't. I was telling you guys last year that, you know, if there was another option, if there was another way for me to do this and replace my income, then I wouldn't hesitate. Now, if I take this new job, I won't necessarily be replacing my income that I made as a regional driver, even for this company. But what I was getting at before is that it's okay. You know, it's okay that I start out in a humble position in a new industry. It's not technically new. I'm not new to the housing industry. I'm not new to this type of work. It's just that it's been a long time since I've done it. Guys, I didn't actually become a truck driver until I was in my 30s. Okay, so I was 31 when I got my CDL. And so you got to take into account the fact that I had many, many, many jobs before I became a truck driver. I didn't really expect to make a career change at 40 years old, but when I put into consideration how truck driving, as much as I can tell you that I respect it and that I appreciate the sacrifice that everybody who is committed to the industry, like I am, I mean, I still am committed to it. I'm not saying that this is a definite thing. I'm just saying it might actually happen. Like, I think I'm closer than I've ever been to actually being able to say, okay, I've got options now. If I don't want to keep doing this, I might not have to. This might be my ticket out of it, because I'll be honest with you guys, ever since year one, I've been doing it for 9 years. Since year one, I've always questioned, is this the right thing for me? Is this what I should be doing? Well, I've had jobs like the one that I lost 2 years ago, where I'm actually assuring myself, of course, this is what you need to be doing. Look at how much money you're making. You come so far. This is awesome. Like, I'm in the best financial spot that I've ever been in my entire life. I've got everything set up from this point out. But then I've also got this other part of myself where it's like eating away at me, because I know that it's really not what I want to be doing with my time. I'll be honest with you guys. Yes, I'm pretty decent as a truck driver. I'm very dependable. I'm very safe. I'm punctual. It's important to me to be safe and be on time and be reliable and always look at my equipment before I operate and all this and all that. Like, all those things, I might possess good characteristics of a truck driver that actually takes their job seriously, but that just means that I can do it. That doesn't mean that I actually necessarily want to do it. Now, for a lot of people, and even for a lot of people that have been in this industry for less time than I've been in it, they've already taken that next step and said to themselves, okay, I think I'm ready to become an owner-operator. I'm ready to get my own equipment. I'm ready to start my own business. I'm ready to, pour more of my capabilities into this industry, and in return get more back. But me, myself, I really don't have any desire to do that. I don't want to own equipment. I don't. I never have. I don't think I ever will. I don't, I am interested in having a business, but I'll be honest with you, if I start a business, it's not going to have anything to do with truck driving. I don't want to have anything to do with truck driving in the business world. That's not me. That's not who I want to be. Okay? But something like this in a different industry, I feel like I've always had more passion for the housing industry. I like construction. I like the idea that my contribution with this new job is actually going to go towards helping people with choosing this company to lease a home. Now, there's a lot of dynamics to that in itself, and there's a lot of different ways you can look at a company like the one that I'm trying to get a job with right now. I'm not going to get into that right now. I might make a video in the future about it. But I'm just letting you guys know that for the past 9 years, I've been holding on to a steering wheel. I've been watched on camera. I've been monitored. I've been measured. I've done it all. I've gotten around. I've done so many different facets of truck driving. I've done it, and guys, don't take it the wrong way, because again, I'm not saying that I'm leaving for sure or that I'm staying for sure, but I'm just telling you that I'm closer than I've ever been at this point to getting out of this industry, and I'm actually extremely excited about it. I am. I do have one other instance in my past, and it was actually after my first truck driving job that I had. And I had my reasons. There were things that happened back then that caused me to want to resign. I was there for over 2 years at my first truck driving job. Some things came up, and it kind of changed my mind. It got me thinking, okay, if I have an opportunity to get out of truck driving, I've spent the past over 2 years doing this, and I don't really feel that much fulfillment in it. It's fun to drive the truck, I guess, but I don't I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel the satisfaction that I thought I would have whenever I decided to invest money, time, and effort into getting this license. And at that point, I was telling myself, okay, I'm being way too hasty. This is the only job I've ever had as a truck driver. I know it can get way better than this. But guys, I've already told you that I was kind of on top of the game as far as a company driver. Like, I had the resources, I had the income, I had the total setup, the total package, and I was still unsatisfied on such an unconscious level that I ended up setting myself up for failure by failing a freaking drug test, even though I had things so good. So that tells me that, after all this time, I'm not really that passionate about it. I've tried for a long time to connect with it. I've tried to find fulfillment in it, and it's just not there for me, guys. It's just not. Now, I'm not saying that this new job that I get, I'm not going to say that it's just gonna completely change who I am. It's going to completely change my life, but I do think it might be a step in the right direction. And one thing I wanted to say about this company that might hire me is that they've got tons of opportunity for growth within their company. Now, granted, I'm not real big on the corporate world, but when it comes to stuff like contracting and homes and stuff, I look at it a little bit differently than I look at big corporate truck driving companies. It's a little bit different for me in that kind of a situation. I think the main reason why I'm so unsatisfied with truck driving is that I feel like I'm capable of so much more. Now, going back to the job that I took after my first truck driving job, that was a really interesting job to me. I took a pay cut, just like I would be, potentially taking if I take this job. I was headed in a really good direction. I've already told you guys about it. It was a dry cleaning supply company. They actually hired me originally to fill in for their Class B drivers to do delivery routes, hand unloading the truck, a lot of hard, intensive labor, but just filling in as a substitute driver. Now, when I didn't do that, I would actually work in the warehouse, and once I learned all the ins and outs of the warehouse, including, I already had previous forklift experience, but I got a lot of experience driving forklifts when I worked at this place. I learned their entire inventory. I did inventory management. I handled branch orders. I unloaded trucks. I did all this stuff when the warehouse hired me. And then my supervisor at that warehouse, she brought me into the office and she showed me how to do everything in the office. So I was working on bid sheets from sales reps. I was using that to fulfill customer orders, making invoices. I would sit on a computer. I would create invoices on a daily basis. I would basically put each customer's order in on a computer. I would print out the invoice, and then I'd go out in the warehouse and pull the stock that they ordered. And then I would take all those orders from all those different customers, go back in the office, get back on the computer, and build a manifest for 3 different truck routes that went out every day from our warehouse in Decatur. And after I built the manifest, I would go back out in the warehouse, and me and a team of 3 other guys would sit there and stage each truckload based on the manifest that I built. And then we would load it onto the trucks. On some days when the drivers was going to call out the next day, or if they were on vacation, I would actually get in their truck and I would deliver that stuff. So I knew how to do it all, guys. I would start out with a report from a sales rep. I would turn that into a customer order, make an invoice. I would pull all of the items, all the products that the customer ordered from the warehouse, and then I would build a manifest to design how it was going to go on a truck in order of the stops that the driver would take. Then I would actually physically stage the load. So you see what I'm saying? Like I did it all. I did it all at this warehouse. And then, like I said, the next day, I might actually go out on that route and make all those deliveries and unload that truck by hand. I figured that whole freaking company out. I was there for a little over a year. My boss, she brought me into her office one day and she was like, okay, you know how I've been showing you how to do this? I've been showing you how to do that. She was showing me how to do accounts management. I would get on her computer in her office, and she broke it all down for me. She basically showed me how to write up reports and maintain customer accounts. I would have to know how to keep up and understand, like this customer, they put this order in, but they actually owe the company money. They're backed up on their payment, so they have an outstanding balance. We can't fulfill this order because this customer hasn't been paying their monthly bill, so we're not going to send them their stuff. She basically showed me that sometimes you have to get on the phone, you have to reach out to these customers and try to manage their accounts. And she's like, you might be wondering why I'm teaching you how to do all this stuff. Payroll, for the rest of the people that worked at that warehouse. She's like, I'm actually training you how to do my job, because eventually I'm going to leave. And if you know how to do everything, then they're just going to let you, you're going to get a promotion, basically. You're going to be the supervisor of the Atlanta branch for our company. And I was like, okay. And at that point, I basically knew how to do pretty much everything. There were a few things that she wouldn't show me how to do because she knew, she'd probably get in trouble if she showed me these things. There were things that I didn't have access to. But she showed me how to do everything else. And by the time it was all said and done, I mean, she was like taking time off work. She had a lot of family that had health problems, so she would have to, call out. And when she did, I basically ran the place. I replaced people that worked in the office. Like there was another woman that worked in the office that did all that other stuff I described earlier. And as soon as they knew that I could do her job, they let her go. She basically retired. So after she retired, I started doing her job and doing my job in the warehouse. And like I said, filling in for drivers when they didn't come to work. I mean, it was cool. I didn't make as much money as I would have if I was driving an 18-wheeler, but it was still a really, really interesting, fascinating job. It kept me on my toes, and it was satisfying for me. Even though a lot of it was manual labor, working in a warehouse, there was never a dull moment. I didn't get bored. I learned everything that I possibly could. And I mean, I just took off with that job. Now, I would actually still have that job because I appreciated it that much. I think maybe I would be the supervisor. But I had the least seniority. And this was right around spring of 2020. So when COVID hit, the dry cleaning industry just slammed. Like they nosedived. Nobody was interested in dry cleaning at that point. They were interested in, how am I going to pay my mortgage? I'm not worried about dry cleaning. So the company, pretty much the company nosedived, and at that point they had to let a lot of people go. There were people that were supposed to retire later that year, or they made them go right then and there, and I was one of those people where they were like, yeah, you just learned all this stuff, but we're going to have to lay you off because we just can't afford this many people, and you have the least amount of seniority, so we're just gonna have to let you go. And that's when I started freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I walked away from truck driving to take this job, and they just freaking laid me off. Well, I didn't realize that a lot of people were getting laid off, and I knew about the stimulus stuff that was coming, and I knew about the possibility of getting unemployment. They told me, yeah, there's nothing we can do. We're gonna have to pay unemployment if you don't get a job somewhere else. But I wasn't about to do that, guys. I wasn't about to just settle for an unemployment check. So that's when I turned back to truck driving. I went from that company to Transport America. It was actually they call themselves TA Dedicated now, but it used to be Transport America. And I went back over the road. It was the only thing that I could do. It was my only option. And that's when I got back into truck driving. I've been doing it ever since the spring of 2020. So just nonstop since then. And, it's no different with this. I think that that's one good thing about truck driving, is that it's always going to be here. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I have enough experience where I feel confident enough to say, okay, I'm not going to lose the skill overnight. If I ever need to come back to it, I can come back to it. It's here. And I knew that whenever I took the job at the dry cleaning place. I was like, okay, I've got this opportunity to get out of truck driving, or at least take a break from it for a little while, because it is so monotonous, it is so repetitive, and it's like, it's unfulfilling. It only goes so far. I know that it would be different if I was making really good money. I wouldn't mind it as much, but I don't feel like I have the options that somebody with as much experience as I have would have, and it's because of the mistake that I made, and I feel like it's really limiting me. It's really limiting my interest to continue to want to do it. And like I said in my last video, I pretty much proved to everybody, hey, I'm not a freaking drug addict. I got through the SAP program no problem. I was never tempted to take any more substance. I wasn't I never worried that I was going to fail one of those random drug tests, the continuous drug screening that they were putting me through. And they were trying to be sneaky about it. There were some months when they were like, okay, it's the 8th. Go take your drug test. Oh, you passed it. Good job. And then maybe a week or two later, they're like, hey, it's time to take it again. You ready? And I would go take it, and I'd pass it. And they'll be like, oh, well, shit, maybe this guy really is not using anymore. It was like that. It was like they were trying to catch me red-handed, and they just couldn't do it. They just couldn't freaking do it because I wasn't doing it. I didn't have any desire to want to do it. I've already talked about this, so I don't know why I'm even getting into it. But, guys, I can have closure with this. I feel like at this point I can have closure with this. I feel like there's nothing that I have to prove at this point to anybody. This is the same thing. I'm just repeating what I said in my last video. No, I'm going to be real honest with you guys. After I refused that drug test and I went back to work, my only option was to take a job at a company where I feel like in order just to make income to support my family, I was being put under pressure to do sketchy things And like I told you in my previous video, my boss was really, really inclined to try to encourage me to cheat on my hours of service. And his favorite thing to do, his favorite line that I would always call him and be like, hey dude, have you looked at my log? I don't have enough time to go pick this load up, blah, blah, blah. And his favorite line was always like, oh, well, I just put you on personal conveyance. Like, that was his favorite thing to go to. Anytime he wanted to manipulate me and manipulate the system, it was always personal conveyance. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay? So he would abuse that shit. Or he would try to. I finally got to the point where I was like, no, you're not. Because I'm not. I'm parking this truck right now. You know, you're not going to do this to me. Like, I'm a legitimate truck driver. I respect the system, and I actually honor and I value my CDL, and I'm not going to put it in jeopardy for the sake of your profit, you know? Like, I'm not putting myself on the line. I'm trying to get myself out of the shit that I got myself into, and you're not doing anything to help me do that. Except facilitating a job for me so that the FMCSA can send you these follow-up drug tests for me to go take. And that's basically what that job turned into. You know, just trying to get as much out of me as he possibly could. I mean, I would pick stuff up. It would be overweight. I'd be like, hey, man, you know, what are we going to do about this? I'm trying to tell these guys I'm not hauling this. It's overweight. Well, there was one time I actually picked up a load coming out of Gwinnett County in Georgia, and the guys that were loading me didn't speak English worth a lick. And I kept telling them, I think I actually have a picture of it right here. I'll show it to you. That's like 93,000 pounds gross. I told you guys I was in Gwinnett County. I was off the interstate. I think that was actually Swanee or somewhere around there. I got on the interstate. The nearest truck stop was Pilot in Brazelton. I went up there. I waited. It was 93,000 pounds. And I was hauling it. And I mean, I knew I was screwed. And his best solution, like, he called the company that owned that stuff. It was a rental company that owned it. The construction site that loaded me just rented the stuff. They were too cheap to pay a second truck to take it back to the rental place. They wanted me to take it all. That was the real issue. And they acted like they couldn't speak English, so that I would just have to deal with it. They just dumped it on me like, it's my problem that this company is too cheap to order a second truck to come and get the rest of this stuff so that it's done legally. It's done legitimately. Oh, we're just going to take advantage of your CDL so that we can get this stuff out of our construction site because we're done with it. We're ready for you to send it back to this rental company. And that's what I had to do, guys. I was originally going to send it, or I was originally going to haul it to North Carolina. Well, when we realized how overweight it was, I had to take it down to Conyers. So I still had to drive with it overweight. No permit, no nothing. Why am I telling you guys this? Because it's in the past. And I don't work for the company anymore, and I don't really care. Who knows about what that company's all about. They were the shadiest freaking company I've ever had to deal with. Ever. And so I went from having a really good job to dealing with stuff like that to dealing with what I have right now. This whole time I'm faithful. You know, I'm coming to work every day. I'm delivering these loads on time. I'm working my ass off, and this is what I get. This is what I get. Having to deal with stuff like this. And now I'm stuck with this job. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to explain to you guys my situation. I'm stuck with this job. I live in Jackson, Georgia. My terminal is 60 miles away from here. I live in Atlanta, one of the worst cities in America as far as traffic goes. I have to take back roads to get back and forth to work. Not only that, the only opening that they offered me for this local job is overnight. So I'm working overnight now. I'm commuting that far back and forth to work, and I'm working overnight. Like, I'm a truck driver with 9 years of safe driving experience, and this is the best that this industry has to offer me. It's like, take it or leave it. I've been looking for a replacement job for this one for months, and not one company, except for the one that I mentioned in my last video, which is another shady, small company that wants to hire me as a 1099 contractor, is willing to give me a job. No citations, no accidents on my record. It's like you either work for these giant Goliath companies that want to watch you on camera and micromanage you and offer you the bottom of the barrel that they have to offer, and you just deal with it because you're new to them. You might have years of experience, but because they just hired you, none of that experience means anything. Only experience with their giant company means anything. So therefore, you have no seniority. Therefore, they're not going to offer you anything but something that's from the bottom of the barrel. In other words, that means baseline pay. That means baseline positions, openings. Like, with a big company like the one that I work for, it's a total hierarchy. You have to earn everything, including respect. You know? So I'm just like, whatever, you know? I think my career ended 2 years ago, honestly. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like living in I'm living in denial by trying to continue to hold on to it. It's like I have to deal with this for the next few years and just wait and be patient and hope that I have some kind of shred of sanity by the end of all of it, or I'm gonna try to choose something else that makes more sense. On top of that, again, my family, they are over this truck driving stuff. My wife is over it. My kids want me around more than I am. This second, third shift, you know, crap that I'm doing right now, we're basically living our lives on the opposite, like the polar opposite ends of time from each other. I don't see even though I work locally, I don't see my family. I'm putting all this wear and tear on my own personal vehicle to get back and forth to work. For what? For what? Is it really worth it? Just so I can come home? It's not. I don't get to see my family. I've put, in the past 3 months, I've put over 10,000 miles on my own car to get back and forth to work. That's how much I put on my car in the past 3 months to get back and forth to work. To work at a job where they're paying me from the bottom of the barrel. They're offering me the shittiest loads because I have no seniority. All the other loads, the good ones, are being taken by the people that have been there for so long. Those are the people. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect any other truck drivers. Like, I don't see how these guys did it. Working for a mega carrier. Some of those guys, they've been there for like 20 years. And it's like, damn. Don't you know what you could have if you got a job somewhere else? Like, you actually, but they're not interested. And it's like, what are they, did they steal your soul? Did they brainwash? Like, do you not, And maybe it is an insecurity thing where they just feel so secure with this one company. They've been there for so long that they just don't want to. They don't want to take the risk of trying to work anywhere else. But if they had any idea how much better they would have it if they took a chance and went with a better company, it's like, damn. But that's not for me. That's not my place to make that judgment call. It's really not. But I'm kind of in awe that like some of these guys, they don't know that it's better. It can be so much better than what it is. But like I said, for me, that's in the past. Like I don't live in that world anymore. That's not, you know, it's my fault. It's my fault that I gave that up and in exchange for some stupid ass momentary pleasure. You know, it was stupidity that caused me to do it to begin with, and I'm paying the price for it. But what I'm saying is, if I have that opportunity to make a better choice, to do something that makes more sense for me, and even if I hadn't refused the drug test, I don't think I'd really feel that much different. I really wouldn't. Like, I think that even before I decided to do what I did, I was having these thoughts 2 years ago saying, I really think that there's something else out there that I'd rather be doing with my time. I have nothing to prove to anybody. You know, I conquered a challenging season of my life, and I learned a lot, and I did grow, and there are things that you guys still don't know about that I overcame. And I think it was a formula, as much as the FMCSA and insurance companies, they want to stifle drivers that fail drug tests, and they want to punish and restrict, and they want you to suffer. They want you to suffer. They want you to feel the adverse effect of the choice that you made. I've talked about this before too. And they honestly think that that's how people learn. They're hard lessons that, either this person is sincere, they're legitimate, and they're willing to overcome this issue that they have, or they're not taking it serious, and they're not going to do anything to try to change or better themselves. Well, guys, like I said, it wasn't an issue for me. But I do feel like, it was a wake-up call. And as bad as things were, as harsh as reality got for me for a long time there, right after I failed the drug test, and then I went back to work 6 weeks after that, I got that really difficult job and started doing flatbed with no training, and had to learn the ins and outs of it with nobody really helping me, guiding me, or directing me. I had to become a good teacher so that I could teach myself how to do it just by watching what other people were doing. By trying to ask meaningful questions and not really be too intrusive or, bother any other drivers around me, I tried to learn as much as I possibly could. And I got a lot of criticism, and I got, a lot of people, even my boss at some point, he was like, you're moving too slow, like you're taking too long to do this. Like eventually he was like, you're sending me these pictures to make sure that you're doing this stuff right, and I'm telling you, it can't get any better than that. Hurry up, you're taking too long. You're being too safe trying to do this job. Like, just you understand how to do. He was trying to rush me, because I wasn't making enough income, enough profit for him. And so it's just little stuff like that, guys, that I've never even told you before. I mean, he just didn't care. He didn't care about safety at all, I think. But if he did really care about safety, then maybe he would have never hired me. Maybe it took somebody like that to actually be crazy enough to take the risk of giving me a job at that point, because I was in such a messed up position. I got myself in that place. So I think that, his company and his perspective on the truck driving industry, it was necessary for me to get out of the hole that I dug and threw myself into. So I'm not saying that I don't appreciate what he did for me, but at the same time, it was just like, it was so ugly. It was one of the lowest points of my life, and it was one of the hardest years I ever had to get through. And I'm thankful now that it's over, but I still got that bad taste in my mouth from it, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not gonna get over this like, I'm not gonna change. I have a certain outlook, I have certain feelings toward the industry. A lot of it has to do with what I've gone through in the past 2 years, but then a lot of it is still, manifested things from before I even failed the drug test. Things that led up to that point that I'm still carrying, and it's like, okay, I can have respect for this industry, but at the same time, I don't really want to spend the rest of my life doing this. Even if it means I have to take a temporary pay cut to get into an entry-level position into another industry where I know I have opportunity to advance and end up outpacing myself, and actually in the long run end up, if I make the right choices, if I do the right things and make the right moves, before it's over with, I can potentially make more money in this new industry than I ever made as a truck driver. I'm not denying that truck driving isn't a lucrative industry if you're lucky, if you're in the right place at the right time, if you're willing to own your own equipment and take chances, sure. But I'm just not that passionate about it. Plain and simple. That's all I really want to say right now. I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm gonna let you guys know I'm hoping to have a third interview. This will be 3 interviews, you guys, just to give you an idea about the screening process with this company that I'm trying to get a job at. I've had 2 interviews. Like I said, they both went great. The third one is in person, and I'm supposed to have it later this week, which, therefore, at that point, they should be letting me know whether or not I got the job. Now, if I get the job, as far as I know, I'll be starting it next month. So maybe the first week of July, or maybe the week after the holiday's over, I'll have the job. And I'll keep in touch with you guys and let you know what happens. And I'll keep trying to make, as long as I'm, doing this truck driving, I'll try to make a weekly video like I've been doing. If you guys have been keeping up, thank you. Thank you for listening to me talk. I know it's not the same when I'm not, entertaining you while I'm doing my job. I'm just talking to you, but I'm trying to be real and communicate. So those of you that leave comments or leave thumbs up, again, I appreciate you doing that. It shows me that you actually care, You're actually listening to what I'm saying, and I appreciate that. I know it's not easy to sit there and listen to somebody talk for this long, but to those of you that have, thank you. And I'll see you guys around. There is one thing that I want to correct myself on. Something that I said in my previous video about, and it's been bothering me. I know it might not be a big deal or seem like a big deal to some people, but it's bothering me. So there's something about the way that I said in my previous video. I was like, I'm just thankful that I'm not one of those people that ended up hurting somebody because of my decision to use a substance and be a truck driver at the same time. And I just want to apologize about like the way that I said that. It may have came off as sounding self-righteous to some people, but I didn't mean it like that. No, like I have a lot of sympathy for people that have had to go through that and learn that hard lesson. Like I have sympathy for the victim, and then I have sympathy for the addict or the person that was so out of control with their substance usage that they actually decided that they were going to freaking use a substance and try to do their job at the same time because they're that dependent on it. And they ended up hurting somebody because they had no control over it. Now, I'm thankful that, the FMCSA does screen truck drivers. I've never, ever said that I didn't think that was necessary. I do think it's absolutely necessary. My argument in the past was I just think that they need to update it and make it more modern in the way that they take certain things into consideration. That's all I was saying. But what I mean is by this is just to apologize and say I didn't mean to sound self-righteous or say I'm just thankful I'm not one of those people that did that. That's not what I meant. I'm thankful that didn't happen to me, because look at how many other people it did happen to. Okay? Again, I never operated a truck under the influence of the stuff, but maybe there's also some people out there that did what I did and then they still ended up getting into an accident. I don't know. It's possible. And I'm just saying that, I'm thankful that it didn't happen to me. Because it could have happened to me. You could get in an accident at any point, whether or not you have used something over the weekend or not. And that's bad. Like if they catch you with something in your system that you didn't use while you were doing your job, you did it when you were taking your time off, it doesn't make much difference at that point, does it? It's in your system. And they don't care. They got you. And I'm just saying that I'm thankful that didn't happen to me. Okay, so that's all I want to say. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. See you later.